and that there's a responsibility on our part to respect that sovereignty, and it is. I don't deny that at all, but you can't take away from me my own thoughts. You can't tell me that I don't have the right to form opinions. You can't tell me that. Now, whether my opinions or my thoughts are right or wrong, I have the right to form them, and I have the right to share my opinions with my brothers and sisters. I have a right to do that. And as I stand here, I am man enough. If I had a bone in my body that was filled with any semblance of hatred towards the Nation of Islam, I'm man enough to say it. I'm man enough to say that. And a lot of times when I come up here and rant and rave, is because I never go home at night with any animosity at all. I don't go to bed mad at no black person. And I don't wake up in the morning mad. And there's no domestic violence or quarrels in my house. That's why I would get up every morning, go down to the courthouse and fight white folks. And get my thing off with crackers. So I can come home at night and be a peaceful man. My neighbors would tell you there is no violence at all, and my wife would testify to it. Because I get my thing off in the streets or behind a microphone. And I bear no ill feeling toward no man or woman and have no intention of ever plotting against anybody. And what I say it because that's how I feel, but more important than that, I say it because of my love for people in what I say. I've had conversations with Minister Farrakhan. He may have liked them, may have not. A few years ago, we was in St. Louis. Reverend Sharp and I and him was in the back, and I said at that time, I said, Minister Farrakhan, I said, you are a wise man. Very wise man. And you are the spiritual leader of the Nation of Islam. But I told him in front of his face, I'm not talking about behind his back. Reverend Sharpton is my witness. I said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that some of his greatest followers was not in the nation. Some of his greatest followers was not in the nation at all. But they were some of his most devoted followers. And they understood what he was imparting to them. And I told him that his mind was so great that he should not mix his mind with his mouth. I said that when a man utilizes his mind and his mouth at the same time, something has to give. The genius of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was that with his great mind, he went out and looked for mouthpieces. And those mouthpieces allowed him to stay home and become the architect of the Nation of Islam. That great mind. And I told him on that day that you have in your midst great men, great communicators, where it's not necessary for you to have to be in Madison Square Garden or in the Omni or in the Spectrum or in Boston Garden or any other great facilities in this country. That there were other people that could do that. And one of them was Khalid Abdul Muhammad. I wasn't there to interfere with the internal workings of the Nation of Islam. I was there as a brother, trying to elevate the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to even greater heights. And so, even though ultimately the Nation of Islam must decide who that's all right. Mr. Khalid said that fell on the floor, but I said this because there's so much you have to say, and time becomes sometimes your enemy. But my point that is needed is that there is a sixth sense in black people that tells us something. You know, even though we don't have sometimes the courage or the conviction to act on it, it's that sixth sense that has allowed us to continue to survive. You know, sometimes you can come out and tell black folk, we ought to go here today, and they'll say, no, I don't think we better do that. It's that sixth sense talking to them. There's a sixth sense in me that says that I do not believe that there is anything that Khalid Abdul Muhammad has done that justifies the length of this suspension. That's a sixth sense. Now, whether you like what I've said or not, I have the right to say it. And I know that I'm not just speaking for Alton Maddox. See, a lot of times people don't understand when they hear me talk is that if I was speaking for myself, I would have some personal motive. And so I may want to try to calm things down. But I can't speak for myself. WLIB may have some problem with some of the things that I'm saying. If I was speaking for myself, I may not be saying them. But I hear what you are saying. And so I have to express what you feel. Because anybody that is given the opportunity to get before a microphone has to use it for the people and not for himself. And so I'm not the most favorite person in town on any quarters. I'm not favorite. I have to fight like cats and dogs for anything. I don't get support. I don't get support because people do not want to hear what they need to hear. They don't want to hear the truth. And when you speak the truth, it's hard roads ahead, but you got to speak it anyway. And that's why this microphone is the way it is, and that's why we let everybody of every different philosophy and persuasion come and speak. Maybe you don't speak as often as you may like, but you will get the opportunity to speak. And so I say that because I love Mr. Farrakhan. I love Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And I certainly love Mr. Conrad. And what is so beautiful about a lot of this is that, see, there are so many different connections now. My wife taught Conrad's wife at Teaneck High School, even before she met Conrad Muhammad. And his wife is an accomplished medical doctor herself. And so these feelings that people have for each other are already there. And so when we were standing over there a few minutes ago, I could feel in the vibration that there was no hatred at all among all of us. I was there, and Minister Kevin was there, and Eric was there, and Minister Khalid was there, and Captain Dennis was there. And as we sat trying to structure how we were going to make the presentation tonight, I knew there was brothers that was really there. So we cannot really make something out of this, even when we say that we have a concern for Khalid Abdul-Muhammad, and we do. And we love him, but to love Khalid Abdul-Muhammad is not to denigrate the Nation of Islam. It's not to denigrate the Nation of Islam at all. It is a love for the Nation of Islam. And we simply want Minister Farrakhan to know what we believe. What we believe. I faxed a letter to Minister Farrakhan the next day. If I had thought that he was an evil man, I would have never petitioned him. I petitioned him to investigate these matters. And as you heard, they have been resolved as it relates to Eric Muhammad. And we thank God, we thank Allah, and we thank the Creator and the ancestors that has been remedied. But we're concerned about Khalid Abdul-Muhammad for one reason, and that is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put together the only true organizational base that we have in the black community. And it's still there. It's still there. And because of that organizational base, Khalid Abdul-Muhammad, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many blacks all over this country, his greatest contribution, we believe, is inside the Nation of Islam. And not just as a member of the Nation of Islam, but as a communicator in the Nation of Islam. And so we only ask Minister Farrakhan that as he reviewed the proceedings tonight, to take our sixth sense into account. Take what we believe is into account. Because as I look at the life of Khalid Abdul-Muhammad and listen to what he says and go back 30-some years ago when I was at Howard University, I don't see anything that Khalid Abdul-Muhammad is saying that is so inconsistent with what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying. And so, tonight, as I depart and bring on Mr. Khalid Abdul-Muhammad, let me say that I am pleased that people came from far and near tonight to show support for these brothers and to show greater support for the Nation of Islam. And in that regard, Dr. Barry Shangle, all the way from Maryland, came on his own time. Dr. Patricia Newton, also from Baltimore, came on her own time. And then to set the stage, Dr. John Henry Clark, that told us that regardless of what religious affiliation we have, we are all black people with a common experience and a common enemy. A common experience and a common enemy. And if Khalid or Conrad or Mr. Kevin or anybody came in here, I would give my life for them as I would for Eric Muhammad or anyone else. And that's the love that we have for each other, which is even greater. That's why I told Mr. Conrad, I said, well, you know, the thing about the United African Movement is that it is made up of everybody. You have members of the Nation of Islam. You have Hebrew Israelites. You have Baptists, Methodists, Catholics, Hindus, atheists. You have the whole 9 yards that are in here. And we are learning to be united as an African people. And so we would love one day to have Mr. Farrakhan himself. Because I can tell you, brother, as we support Khalid Abdul Muhammad and Eric Muhammad, I can tell you that in this audience, everybody also supports and loves Mr. Farrakhan. And we hope that as we leave here that there's some resolution that can be sent to Minister Louis Farrakhan on behalf of millions of unnamed Africans here in this country and throughout the diaspora that simply petitions him to seriously look at allowing this brother to be able to utilize for us his greatest talents, and that is Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And in the name of Unkulunkulu, that same one God called by another name in another tongue in another land, Chukwu, Shango, Oludumare, Babaluaye, Ilegba, Obatula, Oshun, Ogun, Yemonya, Asar, Aset, Mayat, Nut, Heheru, Jehudi, Lord God Almighty, Jehovah, Elohim, Yahweh, Eloha. We thank that God for coming, as it was written and prophesied that he would come to seek and to save that which was lost. And we can find no other people fitting the description of the lost brother, the lost sister, or the lost sheep, except we, the 50 million or more, mentally and spiritually dead black men and black women here in the hells of North America. And so we thank him for raising up his messenger and his Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank him for the honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We thank him for the life and legacy of the then spokesman of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Minister Malcolm X, Brother Omar Wali. We thank him for all who came in that great line of divine. But we thank him for the man who I believe is the champion for the liberation and salvation of the black nation. That man who I believe is anointed and appointed for this hour of our resurrection and rise. I speak of none other than my spiritual father, my leader, my teacher, and my guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet you, my beloved and beautiful black brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Hetepu. Shalom, shalom. Alafia. Free the land. And black laws for all black people. To the elder in our midst who has lived his life to enrich our awareness and to bring us to a higher level of consciousness that we might be prepared to carry on when that day of the transition comes and he moves to the realm of the ancestors of the Egungun. To Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Yusuf bin Yakinen, to the brother who has lived a life of struggle and example for us and has always been on the point and on the front line for us, and who has made this house possible and this gathering possible on a regular and consistent and continuous basis, the warrior lawyer in our midst, Brother and Honorable Alton, Attorney Alton Maddox. To Dr. Sekhmet, Dr. Patricia Newton, who lives her life for the liberation of our people, who lives her life to enrich our lives. And to Dr. and Reverend Ishaka Musa Barashango, the name says it all, who has dedicated his life to uplifting us and enriching us and filling us and imbuing us with a power and a force and a spirit that we might move on toward our liberation and salvation. To the young and dynamic minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at Mosque number 7 in Harlem, New York, Minister Conrad Muhammad, who also lives a dedicated life. And to the minister here in Brooklyn, Minister Kevin Muhammad. To Brother Eric Muhammad, who has made up his mind that this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine as all of our little lights are shining, that it might shine on the path, the darkened path of our people, that we might move closer to our resurrection and rise. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I have many notes, many things that I feel, many things to say. I went through many changes as I listened to all who came before us. There is much that I could say that would be a form of denying much of what has been said, contradicting much of what has been said. From the strength of my conviction and from being at the eye of the storm, where the cracker and the devil president has come out, the vice president against me, the Senate, the House of Representatives, the full Congress, first time in the history of probably the world. So-called white Jews and other crackers and Negro Uncle Tom so-called leaders, boot-licking, butt-licking, buck-dancing niggas. There's much that I could say. I'm a freedom fighter. I'm a revolutionary. I was born to wage war and do battle with the enemy. I'm going to continue to fight the good fight, the highways and in the byways. As the elders or the old folks say, I'm going to tarry. I'm going to wait until my change comes. I have called my spiritual father over and over. We have had several meetings and they have been postponed. There is much that I could say. I have not had my meeting in a year that Brother Eric has had. But I will not say them here tonight. I will wait to say whatever I have to say when I sit with my Father. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Let us all stand and hold hands. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know everybody think we're getting ready to perpetrate a fraud. Let's give Sister Khadijah Black a big hand. We're having a quick raffle. And then we're getting ready to go. All right, and I want y'all to think this is anything illegal, but the number tonight is 365-8295. 365-8295. 365-8295. Is there anybody with that one? Okay. Okay, 365-8295. 365-8295. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm gonna. All right. She said if nobody has this number, the house keeps the loot. 365-8326. 365-8326. Anybody have that? Wait, see that? 365. It goes to a good cause, as you know. This is the Children's Fund. This is for the camp next summer. Nobody has it? All right, good enough. Thank you very much. It just shows you that. Okay. Okay. All right, tomorrow at 12 noon, room 1730, 1317, room 1317, 100 Center Street, Manhattan Criminal Court. That's 13th floor, 1317, 12 noon, high noon tomorrow. And Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad wants to address us once again.
Just hold your positions, brothers and sisters. I saw the look of disappointment on some of your faces. You know, of all our studies, we are taught that history is best qualified to reward our research. That if we know what happened yesterday, then we're not likely to let the same thing go down today, because yesterday is actually the foundation for today. And tomorrow is built on today. I have studied Brother Malcolm's history much, and what was going on and what was taking place and how this drama and trauma unfolded some 30 years ago at almost this very same time and same hour as Reverend Barashango, Dr. Barashango pointed out to you earlier. I feel that many serious mistakes were made just running off at the mouth in public, saying in many cases what was the pain of the heart, and saying many things that in some cases might have been true, but in other cases added to. And so I, in studying that history, would like to walk just a little better and improve on a history, and hopefully by God's grace we can put a positive period behind this story as we move on toward our future. So I just wanted to share those few words with you as to why I did not go any further than that.
We certainly want to thank Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad for those words, and to let him know that I believe that most of us, if not all of us, are in sync with what he is expressing. Because as I said before, many of us go way back with the Nation of Islam, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And if we are not members, we are certainly stockholders. We are certainly investors in many endeavors of the Nation of Islam. And so it would be an outright traitor who would want to see the destruction of the guiding light for black people. And we've never backed down from saying that. And wherever I have been, on radio, wherever, some of y'all give Malcolm a lot of praise, but I always go back to the root. Wherever I am, try to remind you that if it had not been for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there would have been no Malcolm, nor would there have been a Farrakhan, nor Khalid Abdul Muhammad, or a minister, Conrad Muhammad. You can't start with the branches. You got to always go back to the root. And you can't wait for white folks to give you permission to go back to the root. Just because white folks don't put the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in films and put him in books, don't mean that we should not revere him and tell our children about him and the great works and the great vision, and how what he saw years ago have now come to pass and have brought all of us closer together in one aim, one God, and one destiny. We're an African people, robbed from our homeland, robbed of our names, our languages, our cultures, our religions, our womanhood, our manhood, and our self-respect. But we shall rise, never to fall again. Up, ye mighty race. We can accomplish what we will. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Long live the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.